I've always had a fascination with novelty musical groups. The group Fingernails, the group with Polish.
Right.
What kind of music did you do, and what was the background on that group?
It was a group that we had in the girls' school that I went to as a teenager, and we would put on shows for the whole school. We would do takeoffs on pop songs and little skits and things. We did a skit of Tarzan and Jane as played by Steve McQueen and Charles Bronson, things like that.
Did that teach you a lot about performing, that early experience?
It teaches you how much you can get away with in certain cases, yes. Well, I started by going to 3 different psychiatrists that I knew, and and working with them. First of all, getting their response to the script. And my first question was, could this happen? And every one of them said, absolutely. Then I set out with Mike Enright in particular, this wonderful friend of my dad's who lives in Jackson, Wyoming. He's a psychiatrist, and he helped me construct a psychiatric history for this woman. What could have happened in her past that would elicit this kind of behavior now? And that process really made me sympathize with the character. She's a very disturbed woman. She's a very needy, lonely woman. And she's had things happen to her in the past that have never been addressed. She doesn't have the awareness to seek help. People like that are absolutely, they believe very sincerely in their point of view. They don't think they're off.
Let's start with a quick, fun question. When Glenn Close goes out in public and people approach her and quote lines from her movies, what lines do you usually get?
I will not be ignored. Depends, if it's a woman, maybe. Puppies.
Now, this movie, this whole idea of a couple where one person is really famous and the other person isn't, for you, how interesting a dynamic to address?
I think it can be incredibly problematic. You know, when I was married, people would come up to me and act as if my husband was totally invisible. And it's a very hard thing for your spouse to deal with. You know, it's just rude. But yeah, it can be very difficult.